I've been living in Spain now for more or less 17 years, plus a year of Erasmus exchange program, but I don't remember a thing. 17 years. And at the very beginning, when I came here back in 2003, and I entered KPMG, my job as a business consultant, I learned very fast about a difference in Spanish between two words, implicar and involucrar. And in Spain, they always use the metaphor of bacon and eggs. Implicar, imply, that's the hen. The hen is implicada in your bacon and eggs, while the pig is involved, involucrado. Both to imply the audience in your action, your speaking action, communication action, and to involve them. They love it. Welcome, my friends here. There's Alba Nadine to round number, is it 18? Yes, it is. On everything on interaction and inclusion, because audiences love that. The whole message today, there is only one hashtag for you guys, and this is what it's all about in the end. Play more with your audience. By definition, they are bored. Normal speakers on stage, now offline, even worse, on this little screen, they are bored to death. And boredom is a death sentence for your message. Hashtag Connor, exactly. Play more with your audience. Boredom is a death sentence for your message. And both interaction and inclusion are so vital for not boring them, for entertaining them, for making them being part of your speech. So today, everything about interacting with your audiences, offline, online, here in Zoom, in Microsoft Teams. I saw it's Amazon Chimes or something. There's so many of them. Online meetings, offline, on stage. Ask me questions, do comments. As always, I am prepared. My mind map is big today because I involve them a lot as a communicator. Now there's again my doggy, Betty, the Labrador. Betty, can you come here and say hello? Can you come here, Betty? Come. And Betty always wants to be in the room when it starts, but as soon as I start, she wants to go out. She wants to interact with nature, like your audience wants to interact with you, the speaker. So first of all, I have to throw her out, and then we're right back in 20 seconds with interaction involvement. Ask your questions, guys. Ask your questions and comments. Come here. Come here. No. This doesn't work. Come. That was not 20 seconds, that was like 10 seconds at least. Interaction, involvement. Before you, and they seem disconnected. What would you say, all the others? How does it feel having your audience only in the chat and not seeing them? Question by question. Alba, first question. The best thing is, in my trainings, and in Yes Business School, here's Connor, great professor for communication leadership at Yes Business School, one of the top schools in the world. We take out stuff. We don't put in anymore. Alba, what could you do to bring them back? Simple thing with your words. What could you do to always bring them back when they're disconnected? When they're thinking about their birthday party of the kids, about the shopping they have to do. Oh, I need another coffee. They're always sitting in front of you, but they are always kind of disconnected, aren't they? Are they not? What could you do to bring them back? Well, that is simple. How do you feel today? Have you been scared lately? Well, what you can always do is ask a question, because our brain has to answer any given question. That means they're connected right away again. Question is one of the interactions I always use anyway. Nadine, your question, how does it feel having your audience only in the chat and not seeing them? But I told you the other day, Nadine, for those of you who don't know Nadine, she is the weirdest mind, the smartest mind, the correct. I imagine you. I imagine 9 people right now. Okay, let's go back to To my past, KPMG. Hi, Maura. Yesterday, she joined our Toastmasters meeting online. Super cool. This is my speaking world. And how did it look like when I was with KPMG? We're talking about the years 2000. I joined 2000, July 2000, 2001. I stayed for 8 years and 3 months. So before I joined Toastmasters, my speakers club, long before I became a professional speaker, at KPMG, I presented with PowerPoint Jihad like this. This was me, the presenter, and that was my audience. And what did I do? I spoke to my audience. I spoke to my audience. It was purely 100% always a monologue. I to them. And for the last 15 years, ever since I joined my speakers club, and of course as a professional speaker, much more even, I speak like this. My monologue has turned into a dialogue. I can never pronounce your name. When online, should the speaker focus? Just a second. This is the big change. The moment you stop talking to an audience and start speaking with the audience as a dialogue, that is when interaction comes, because this circle here is only possible with a big I, interaction. I want to interact with you. And how we will explore in this talk. When online, Miriana, I call you Mary. Wasn't it the movie? Something about Mary? Nah, that was, ooh. I also use gel. When online, should the speaker focus more on hand gestures and facial expressions? But now you're talking about stuff that we've already covered and that we will cover in another session, especially on online communication that will come very soon. Today, Mary, it's all about thematically, it's all about how to interact with your audience on stage in real life, here online. Park your question for another session, Mary. How do you think could I interact with an audience? I always differentiate between interaction and inclusion. At the beginning, in case you were not here, I differentiate between bacon and egg. The hen is implied, interacting with her egg, and the pig is included, involved, that's stronger. So first, what could I do to interact with my audience? Hi, Maura. Now we are audience chatting. Flo, how do you interact with us? Hi, Maura. Now we are audience chat. Flo, how do you interact with us? Well, that's what I'm doing, don't I? You ask questions, I give answers. This is interaction. So the first thing is always normally the speaker. I ask questions. The first form of simple interaction is like Connor, you always do, I love them, the one word emotional status. He does a survey. A survey is great with the chat. Give your emotional status right now in one word and put it in the chat. And then he works with that. That's amazing. Maura, move yourself into the audience space. Maura, bring one person on stage. Bring one person on stage. Let's park it. I put it in the second block on inclusion because now they become really part. They're included in your speech. Now I still am with interaction. I'm very strict with this separation because it makes life simpler. We can also mix everything. Connected. Thank you, Connor. I feel now relaxed. That was not like 18, 20 days ago with the first call. That was horrible. You never can delete stuff on the internet. I deleted it. Shouldn't have, but I had to. What else could I do to interact with you in a normal audience setting when I'm a speaker and you're the audience? I'm not talking about online now. Offline, what can I do? I can ask questions. What else can I do? Like Maura said yesterday during our session, online session of our Toastmasters meeting. What is that? Maura said yesterday. Like Maura said, I make a reference to a person, in this case, Maura, in the audience. I make a reference to other speakers. Do the same thing online. Pay attention to what people say. Pay attention. The other day, Juan is a steady guest in this session. He said something like 3 screens up there. And later I made a reference to his comment. References to what people said, callbacks to what people said is an amazing interaction. Why is it so good? Callback to previous speakers, I call it callback or references, because I love to call back, always use with humor to be clear, but of course it's a callback. Why is it so powerful? Why is it so powerful, my friends, when you say something that Maura said? When I make a callback, a reference, why is it so powerful? Why is it so powerful? I learned that. Why can I, when I'm the communicator, offer online, why can I only make that reference to Maura yesterday, of yesterday's talk? Why can I make that reference? It shows you're here in a live job, high job, of course, but there's more to it. It stimulates the memory, of course, it stimulates the memory, but there's more to it. Why can I make this reference, this callback to Maura? Only. You care, exactly, that's where I'm going, Alba. You listened. You listened to the other speakers. Only when you listened and you heard them, you can make callbacks and references to what they said. This means in the end, you build bridges of empathy to your audience. And this, Alba, exactly shows that you care. Pay attention in the chat. Pay attention to what speakers at events said before you. Take notes. It's amazing. I was in Lyon, in France. I was a keynote speaker. I mentioned one call already, and this is the last time I will say this sentence, by the way. This is a tangent. I said this in another call before. For Christ's sake, cannot say that either. Oh, but he didn't say, yeah, like I said before, yes, we can. Oh, I really want to mention it one more time. Yes, we can. I was in Lyon, speaker, and they asked me when did I want to be the keynote speaker. 136 auditors, lawyers, fiscal advisors, tax advisors in the audience. And I told them in the briefing call, well, after lunch, and the whole morning long with the other speakers. And when it was my turn, I could interact all the time. Linda, the CEO, Linda, you said this morning, but what will Mohammed here from Tunisia have to say about that? References, is amazing interaction to others' callback. What else? Others might fear of being called to and better pay attention. This is the lateral thinking. Sometimes, Nadine, we cannot overthink things. I have 10,938 group evaluated speeches in my bag. Every time somebody makes references to other speakers, it's always on the plus side. It is a pattern. What else could we do? For me, the biggest form of interaction with an audience. We're not with inclusion yet. We're getting into inclusion in a second. Targeted eye contact. Targeted eye contact. This is amazing. Imagine here, I have only the chance to look at all of you. Apparently, this is the online world. But in an audience, and there's Maura, when I talk about Cork from Ireland, who do I look at in that moment? Cork. And she's gonna melt away like snow in the Sahara. Oh. Pay it again attention to what people tell you. Pay attention to what people tell you during the coffee breaks, before the event, the night before when you arrive at the bar, in the future when we can go back to bars. Always pay attention to what other people say. Use it in your speech because this is it. Play more with your audience. Interact with them. Involve them. Non-verbal interaction. That is eye contact. I just said targeted eye contact. Look at Maura when you talk about Cork. If I talked about Colombia, Alba, I would look at you. I wouldn't do that though. Questions, we already had it. Always ask questions. We had it the other day. Closed questions are safer than open question. What do you think about the coronavirus? Oh. Oof. Never-ending story. La 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 da 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 da. Close questions is cooler. Okay, what else? Interaction. Yeah, that was more or less it. Well, that's my world. That's my patterns I identified. I make references, callbacks to what I heard from other people, two people, super bridge of empathy because I listened. I do, the strongest form we haven't mentioned. Connor, you told me yesterday in our Zoom call. This is what I do with 1,300 people in the room, one-to-one, direct dialogue. Once in my training, somebody said, no, Flo, it's not really dialogue because the other person doesn't respond. Yeah, okay, but it's like a dialogue. I did it once when I was in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, when I was one of the keynote speakers at the annual Toastmasters International Convention. I presented my speech structure building, the structure exercise, and 1,300 people in the room, and there's Jesse down there. Imagine Jesse. He's of the other color than me. He is super funny. He's from Las Vegas. He's so funny. And we had breakfast together the day before. So in my talk, I say, Jesse, like you told me yesterday during our breakfast. You should have seen Jesse on his chair, so nervous. 1,299 people looking at Jesse. Amazing. One-on-one. That's for me the strongest. References, callbacks to other people, and questions. Plus, Alba, you're right, targeted eye contact to Maura or to Alba when I talk about Colombia. Hi, Betty's back. Betty, no more crying, huh? No more crying. Sits. Sits is German. She wants to go out and then she's always crying here. You will see. Well, this is life. I don't care anymore. Betty is now a standard component in these sessions. She's a beautiful Labrador. You would love Betty. Let's move on to what I call, okay, another question here. Nadine, what about if calling back what somebody told you the night before today with this tweet? That is a local reference that you will forget in the future, but that happened. Nadine, I always say the golden rule is there are no rules in public speaking, but don't you feel like you might have a feeling, a sense, a sixth sense about what might not be appropriate to share in front of 2,000 people? You get the feeling. I think you get the feeling. Let's go to inclusion. Now we had bacon and eggs. For me, bacon and eggs is imply and involve. Involve is stronger. The bacon, the pig is involved, and the hen with the egg is implied. Now let's go to involve. How can I involve them? And thank you, Nadine. And the big thing, this simple thing, in my opinion, that you can ask yourself is, because interaction is kind of, involvement is, the audience becomes part of my plot, of my speech, of my presentation, of everything. So what could I do to involve people? Maura said before, bring one person to the stage. I always do that. Amazing fun, amazing laughter. Poor person always suffers. Sometimes I have failed with it because I need an introvert and I took an alpha dog who was super strong on stage. Get your homework done. Talk in the breaks and know exactly who might be a good volunteer for your presentation. That's a great idea. Maura, have you done that in the past? And what did you do? So bringing out a person. What else could we do to involve the audience, to make them part of the game? What do you think? Or ask question, what could be done? Connor, are you still here? This is a good moment to have a nice sip of Spanish red wine. Yeah, Maura, it works very well. It's always fun. The other day in the fuck-up session, I talked about fuck-ups. My biggest fuck-up was when I called on this lawyer and took him on stage when I did the manipulative question, who of you hates karaoke? And then the guy rose his arm and I said, come on stage. I've called her to predict, yeah, of course, but this is one-on-one. This is one-on-one. This is what I just mentioned. This is like interaction. You can always do that. This is safe, always safe. Okay, story about Connor. Connor, are you still here with us? In case he's not, no problem. Connor, he invited me, in the 10th year, he opened a door for me to this great business school, IESE, super business school. I'm a guest professor for almost 10 years now there. And yes, it was I think my second gig 9 years back. Imagine I was 36, 10 years back, 36, young for a corporate trainer, corporate teacher for rhetoric, public speaking. You need gray hair. Really, I get gray hair. I'm very happy. When I'm with my hairdresser and he tells me there's a gray hair, I say, yes, $100 more. Now, but back then I always looked young, and now I'm 46, 36. I'm in Madrid. Picture the scene. Picture the scene. Just a second, Alba. I will get back to you with that one. Very good one. Picture the scene. I am there, and in front of me, 15 above 50-year-olds, all company owners or big executives. Among them, one of the biggest honey producers of Spain and the head of the airport in Madrid, the god of 65 million passengers. And of course, it was my first round, 3 days, the first day. And I was young for that job. They were all older, more experienced. And they thought, I see it in their faces. Yeah, what this guy gonna tell us? And then the guy gives a speech. And in the speech, he says, and then I shook hands with my dad for the last time in the hospital. And my inclusion alarm went off. Inclusion. You have to include the audience. And I said, in the evaluation round, you could have done this. You could have walked over to one in the first row, shake hands with that person, say, and then I shook hands with my dad for the last time. Physical. Gonna do that, jamás, nunca, no, eso no se puede hacer. In Spanish, it sounds better. Day number three, we're sitting together at the table. We're eating lentil stew. And the guy who gave that speech sat next to me. And while I was eating, he said to me, he looked at me and said, you know what? I should have shaken his hand. It's so plus. It is so positive for the audience. And there's always 2% who think you take drugs. You don't give a fuck, because this is the bell curve of perception. 2.88% always are haters. They always think you do everything wrong. Forget about them. Physical involvement is a super winner in speaking. Super. And this is the problem here with offline. Now we cannot do that. Alba, group exercises, sharing in public, super cool. When you have longer presentations in the future, well, why are TED Talks max 18, now 15, then 10, most of them? Because people don't pay attention. We know that. After 8 seconds, your reptilian brain says, so it's very hard. But I do sometimes 90-minute keynotes, and I make it happen. Energy and breaks and storytelling and staging and everything we talk about here, I put it on stage with everything I've got, 100%. But still, I know that is tough, 90 minutes. So what I always do, Alba, I always include sessions of 2 minutes of neighbor to neighbor. Neighbor to neighbor works very well in big audiences. I've done 3. Look, I am Margaret. Hi, I'm Margaret. I am Flo. Humor, funny situations, half of the public are getting into themselves. Yeah. But what do you mean? It's humorous to do these group interactions? That's always fun. Well, you can do some fun questions. Talk about an embarrassing moment in your life, or some pathos questions. Share something, a moment of loneliness. Both works, huh? Both works. Nadine, whole group exercise you can do online as we tried last night. Exactly. And of course, here you can do workshopy elements. The other day in the future, we will do a session on workshops, because I've done so many power workshops and I love workshops. But you can use workshopy elements in your, Betty, now it's getting rough here. Huh? Betty, you can use workshopy elements Okay, tomorrow I have to see what I'm going to do with Betty the Labrador. Now she has this smiling piece of poo that I showed the other day, and she wants to play with me, which is, of course, interaction, which is not the right moment, Betty. Anyway, and then you can use breakout rooms and Zoom and others. You can use breakout rooms, workshop elements, and bring them back. Still 5 minutes left. Let me take care of Betty. I'm right back in 10 seconds. Ask questions in the meantime. Ask questions. Always make him happy, huh? Betty, come. Betty, come. Come. Betty. It's impossible. I'm late. I'm alive. It's impossible. Betty. Betty. Back already. Today is tricky with Betty. Where are your questions? I've been gone for 25 seconds. There's no question. Okay, workshop elements we said. In physical, here we go. When the second dog is taking the scene. Exactly. This is the fun. I'm so relaxed now, guys. I'm so relaxed. The first session, everything had to be perfect. Yeah, exactly. You can do so many workshops. We do another session on workshops because I see I have very good workshopping guys here in the group. Chat online. What can we use the chat for? I think the chat is amazing. I always do these infographics. Have you seen them on LinkedIn? Ask and break in rooms. That's amazing. You could do Q&A. You can do Q&A with me. What we're doing here. Super cool. Games. I love games. First one to give me the answer receives clock in the chat. Stupid. My comment might be stupid. What I say, they will think this is stupid. But now with the chat, you can ask for ideas. You can have a 30-minute product presentation, and everyone in the meeting is allowed and actively challenged to give all the ideas they have to improve. Imagine now all these introverts who've always wanted to speak up, but they could never do it. Now they can with the chat. Isn't that cool? Nadine, you could think beyond the box. Everything with Nadine is beyond the box. You could do that. This reminds me of our Toastmasters here in the group, when there's always the award ceremony. Everybody gets awards. In the end, everyone is on stage and there's nobody left in the audience. It's always funny. I had here call to action, but you know what? There will be a session on call to actions because this is a big topic to improve. Now, everyone, close your eyes, please. What do you think about this close your eyes? Yesterday in the session on imagination, I forgot to mention it because I see it so many times happening in my trainings that somebody says, please close your eyes. What do you think about closing your eyes? Left hand to be even more manipulative. I never do that. I say, who of you have been to New York? And 50 people raise their hand. Exactly. You're so right. I have the benefit or the problem that I hear it over and over again in my trainings. Of course, normal people out there who don't do so many presentations, they don't hear it so many times. Yeah, Nadine, you like it. This is the bell curve. I'm not so much fan of it because then in the training I do this exercise. Imagine you are in a forest. It's May, springtime. Next month, you can go out to the forest. Imagine the first warm sun rays touching your skin. It's warm. There is a colorful red and white poisonous mushroom just in front of you. A lonely bird twittering in the... Imagine things without closing your eyes. I think it's so funny. I mean, you don't have to close your eyes to imagine stuff. It is meditative. And Nadine, I agree. Sometimes it's cool when they use it with creativity. Somebody said this, close your eyes. This is how low. But you can also imagine what the speaker says without closing. As such, that's what I just said. You don't need it. You don't need it. That's what I just said. Exactly, Mary. Thank you. One cool thing though, and this is the last reflection for today from my side, because somebody did that. And that was close your eyes with inclusion of the audience. Very well done, in my opinion. The guy said, close your eyes. Keep your eyes closed. Now, everybody who's in favor of this room to do da-da-da-da-da-da, raise your right arm. Okay, keep your eyes closed. Everyone who's against this, da-da-da-da-da-da, raise your right arm. And then he made them open the eyes and he made his own survey. But the audience didn't know. And in the end of the speech, he said, and good that we talked about this today, because more or less 75% of all of you guys are in favor of my opinion. You see, that rocked. Close your eyes for me is cliche when it's just for the sake of imagination. I can't imagine without it. So this is it. We've done so many things, how to interact, physical involvement, bringing people on stage. You can do workshopy elements, group work inside. You can interact with them with references and one-to-one dialogues and with questions and with targeted eye contact to Alba and to Maura. So you can do so many things. The only thing that I know about interaction and inclusion is play much more with your audience. And now that we are stuck in virtual rooms with all the technical possibilities, you can really play with them. Play more with them, interact more with them, involve them more. Your audience loves it, and they will always appreciate it. Great session, a bit longer than usual. Tomorrow, we will talk about, just a second, I have a list here. Somewhere over the rainbow, here we are. Tomorrow, I want to talk about, with you interactively, to talk about everything about logos. Let's go back to Aristotle. We had already pathos and we had ethos, but it also has to make sense. So tomorrow, everything, how to make sure that everything you say and present makes sense to your audience. Again, thank you very much for all your comments, your questions, your interaction, your inclusion. Tomorrow more, thank you so much. And as always, hasta la vista.